We're back with another exciting episode. We hope you're loving our content, and there's plenty more to come. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay notified about new episodes. Now let's dive into the podcast. Enjoy.
Today really is to get past the surface noise. We want to distill what's actually in this material. We'll look at how Tate sees success, how he handles controversy, how he uses influence, and sort of how he pieces together this whole personal philosophy. The idea is by the end, you'll have a much clearer, more comprehensive picture of, let's be honest, a very highly debated figure.
Absolutely. Think of this as like your shortcut. You get to be well informed. We've packed in some surprising bits from the text itself, and hopefully you get those aha moments without feeling totally overwhelmed. Okay, so let's unpack this. Starting with success. How is it defined at Chapter 11? What really jumps out from Chapter 11 is how Tate just completely redefines success. It's not about likes, not about followers, nothing external like that. It seems to be about having absolute command over your own life. Not just making money, but like building an empire, a personal one. As proof of, I guess, an unbending will. It's about carving out this freedom that's super individualistic and, yeah, often pretty controversial by design. We see examples, right? Like the kickboxing world titles. The documents suggest they weren't just belts, they were about proving this intense will to win. And then the webcam business, hugely controversial, obviously. But it's presented as like a raw example of understanding human psychology, market dynamics, using online interactions with models strategically to make millions. So for him, success is clearly bigger than just cash.
It's influence. It's teaching others to, quote, break free.
Yeah, and it's really striking how Chapter 11 folds the controversies, the legal issues, even the social media bans into his definition of success. The text frames them almost as resilience training. They force you to redefine success again to include navigating that intense public heat and actually growing from the backlash. It really pushes this idea that success isn't one thing. It's multifaceted, often messy, often controversial. It's like a mix of wealth, influence, personal freedom, and just the raw ability to take hits and get back up, which, stands in pretty stark contrast to the usual societal metrics, right? Money, status, what people think of you. Here, it's about your own values, your own vision.
And the document brings in ethics too, doesn't it? This idea of balancing your own ambition with like a responsibility to the people you influence. It kind of asks, do the ends justify the means? How does Chapter 11 actually tackle that? Or does it?
Well, it seems to suggest a framework where individual agency and chasing freedom are paramount. It kind of implicitly argues that pursuing those ends can justify means that are, well, unconventional or even controversial. The ethical angle is framed more through like individual choice and self-mastery rather than sticking to, standard societal rules.
That's a really key point. And it also highlights how today, with everything under a microscope, success means navigating your own story. You have to be good at managing public perception almost as much as you are at like building the actual thing. So we've looked at his definition of success. Now, how does he get there? That brings us to influence, which he sees as powerful, but also polarizing. He talks about it not just as followers, but as actual power, the power to shape minds, start movements, or provoke backlash. He literally calls it a double-edged sword. On one side, the positive spin is him being a beacon for people lost in the matrix. That's his term for folks stuck in conventional systems, right? He teaches discipline, financial freedom, self-improvement through platforms like Hustlers University, The Real World, which, offer courses on crypto, e-commerce, stuff like that. The stated goal is turning dreamers into doers.
But then, there's the other edge. Chapter 11 acknowledges his statements on women and success are often seen as misogynistic or promoting this toxic masculinity. Critics worry his influence, particularly on young men, is sparking a return of sexist views, making extreme ideas seem normal, which could have real societal impacts. And the legal stuff is right there in the text, too. Allegations of human trafficking, rape, organized crime. These claims really underscore that influence brings heavy scrutiny, responsibility that goes way beyond just your words. His arrest in Romania, for example, is mentioned as this huge public spectacle, showing how fast influence can flip into notoriety.
Right, so the core lesson seems crystal clear. Influence equals responsibility, big time. The document really drives home that your actions get judged just as much as your words, maybe more, and that power to influence. It's also the power to do harm, which leads us straight into something fascinating. Chapter 11 explores how controversy itself becomes part of his legacy.
Exactly. And the underlying lesson there is about balance. You can motivate, you can inspire, sure, but the material suggests you've also got this duty to reflect, maybe adapt, make sure your influence is actually positive overall. It's about realizing Every word, every action has ripples, you know? So wielding influence ethically isn't just about dodging scandals. It's about actively trying to build an environment where success for everyone is based on respect, integrity, and maybe a genuine push for collective good.
It's really interesting how Chapter 11 talks about controversy,
Mm-hmm.
not just as a side effect, but like a core part of his public image. His legacy, even, is actually called rocket fuel for his fame in the text, which is quite a statement. The social media bans, the legal dramas, the deliberately provocative stuff, it keeps him front and center. Millions tune in, whether out of curiosity or because they genuinely believe in him. And that rocket fuel idea, it feels deliberate, doesn't it? Like Chapter 11 is saying, in today's polarized world, controversy isn't just noise. It can be a tool, an engine to boost reach, flip the old PR rules.
Yeah, and looking at the bigger picture, the long-term impact is, well, it's complicated. Controversy definitely brings fame, loads of it. But the document hints that doesn't automatically equal respect or a positive legacy down the line. There's a real risk he just gets remembered as, you know, that divisive guy. But it also lays out another possibility, that his teachings, discipline, financial freedom, personal growth could actually overshadow the controversies if they genuinely make a lasting positive difference in people's lives. Which brings in this concept of legacy management, like consciously trying to shape how you're remembered.
So it really throws that duality of power and notoriety into sharp relief. Controversy gives you the platform, yeah. But the real test of legacy, according to this, is whether you can rise above the noise and leave something substantial, something valuable beyond the scandal of the week.
That legacy management idea really is central. The document stresses it. It's like acknowledging, okay, first impressions are tough to control, but you can influence the final verdict. It's about moving beyond just being a controversial figure to being seen as someone whose influence actually bettered others, whose legacy has substance, not just shock value.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about his self-improvement philosophy. The goal seems to be shaking people out of being passive viewers of their lives, right? Making them the main character. Chapter 11 lays out these 3 core mantras that really seem to define it. Can you break those down for us? Okay, first, discipline is freedom. This is positioned as the absolute master key for physical fitness, business success, personal growth, everything. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, apparently. Setbacks aren't failures. They're chances to grow. That's the vibe. Second one, success is a choice. The idea here is your choices define you, not your circumstances. For followers, that's incredibly empowering, right? Like, defy mediocrity. Critics might say, well, that ignores systemic barriers, but Chapter 11 makes it clear. The focus is relentlessly on mindset. And number 3, the world is yours to conquer. This is all about ambition. Don't settle. Take risks. Pursue goals relentlessly. Life's an arena, and dominance is achievable if you believe in yourself and learn from every skirmish, as the text puts it.
What's interesting, too, is how these ideas aren't just presented as his story. Chapter 11 really emphasizes their adaptability, their universal appeal. They come from his journey, sure, but the message is anyone can adopt these principles if they commit. And he even talks about critique, not as something to fight, but as a process that actually refines the ideas, makes them broader, more inclusive potentially, allows them to evolve. But this integration, the document points out, needs a careful balance. It's a tightrope walk, really, between discipline and self-compassion, between ambition and ethics, between what you achieve personally and how you contribute societally. The bigger idea seems to be that real self-improvement isn't just about you. It's about using your growth to make a wider positive impact. For the community, it should lift others up too.
Okay, so from improving the self, we naturally get to legacy. Crafting a personal legacy. And according to Chapter 11, Tate doesn't see legacy as just leaving a footprint. It's more like sculpting a monument to his ideals. Every action, every teaching, even how he tells his own story, it's all meant to be a building block for this lasting structure. Things like Hustlers University, the real world, they're explicitly framed as legacy projects, rooted in empowerment, aiming for a paradigm shift in mindset toward discipline, self-reliance. How does he intend for these teachings to actually outlast him?
Well, the teachings themselves on success, masculinity, power, they're designed to endure. They emphasize physical, mental, emotional strength. The goal seems to be remembrance as a source of provocative wisdom. The document details how he intentionally cultivates this philosophy of success through hard work, never settling, hoping it inspires people for generations. It's definitely a proactive strategy for longevity.
And the way he curates his life story through all sorts of media, that's mentioned too, isn't it? Portraying his rise from nothing to prominence as this kind of universal hero's journey, specifically to motivate others.
Exactly. Chapter 11 unpacks this as very proactive legacy building. It stresses intentionality. Every move fits a bigger plan. integrity trying to align teachings and life, and narrative telling a compelling story of growth, impact, lessons learned. This storytelling aims to make sure his name isn't just remembered for the man himself, but for the movement, the legacy of empowerment he's tried to build.
Now we have to talk ethics,
Yeah.
the ethics around his rise to wealth and power. Chapter 11 acknowledges his ventures draw scrutiny, not just for what he achieved, but how, the methods, the motives. The webcam business comes up specifically as a focus for ethical debate. Accusations of exploitation on one side, Tate's defense of individual agency on the other. The document talks about a delicate balance between empowerment and potentially enabling exploitation. What does his philosophy offer on navigating that power and responsibility?
Yeah, Chapter 11 definitely delves into the ethical tightrope, especially where his philosophy equates wealth and power with control. It acknowledges a major responsibility, as he frames it, to ensure his teachings don't cause harm or division. It recognizes the dual potential his message could inspire, or it could be twisted. But the document also highlights how he uses his wealth and power through the educational platforms, through philanthropy, scholarships, investing in people. In his view, these actions aim to make success more accessible, to be a catalyst for positive change. It's presented as proof that power can be used for good if the intent is there.
So it circles back to that core idea. With great power comes an equally great responsibility. That's definitely reinforced.
Right. Ultimately, Chapter 11 suggests ethical action means finding that tricky balance between personal gain and societal good, between advocating dominance and encouraging respect. Legacy, in this light, isn't just about riches or fame. It's defined by how you use your resources to empower others, spark positive change. The aim seems to be that history remembers not just a powerful figure, but maybe a beacon of ethical leadership, or at least someone who aimed to lift others, not just himself.
So looking ahead, what's the vision for his legacy according to Chapter 11? It seems to be about profound change, right? Inspiring a whole new way of thinking about success and empowerment. His followers are positioned as the vanguard of this influence, taking his teachings and turning them into a broader movement, creating leaders, entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Chapter 11 really paints a picture of a legacy aimed at making the road to success easier, more accessible for everyone. His businesses, especially the educational ones, if they emphasize ethics, inclusivity, they could build a legacy where his name means fostering opportunities for collective advancement. And there's a key bit about rethinking his path, not necessarily changing core beliefs, but refining how they're communicated, moving from just being defiant to inspiring constructive change. Maybe promoting a version of masculinity that includes compassion, includes leadership in a broader sense.
It really does stress that ultimate goal mentioned in Chapter 11, shifting from just personal wins to collective betterment. True success, it argues, needs to catalyze broader societal gains.
Yeah, it brings it back to moving beyond pure self-interest, seeing success as something communal, where your gains are used to lift others. It's about influencing people, to educate, to uplift, to break negative cycles like poverty or ignorance. The hope articulated seems to be that the conversation long after he's gone isn't just about him, but about the movement sparked, the inspiration spread.
And there we have it. A pretty deep dive into Andrew Tate's complex, often controversial journey, seen through the lens of his own philosophy in Chapter 11.
We hope this exploration has given you a unique, maybe more nuanced view of how one very public figure tries to define, navigate, and ultimately shape their impact today, beyond just the headlines.
So as you go about your day, maybe something to think about. What does success really mean to you? And if you had a platform, large or small, how would you try to make sure your influence, your legacy, was a positive force in the world around you?
Thank you for joining us in this episode, diving into the life of Top G Andrew Tate. We hope you've gained valuable insights. Stay tuned for more episodes to come. You can grab our book on Amazon or Gumroad anytime. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, GenZ Creatives. Wishing you an ample dose of pain and suffering like NVIDIA's CEO. See you next time.